friends I made this for. My name is Lauren, and here on this channel, I like to talk about astrology through the tarot so we have something physical to kind of ground ourselves in the energetic shifts that are going on. So today you are here because I'm going to be talking about Cancer and the Chariot. So on recording this, I'm actually recording this on the 20th. That's the day before the summer solstice, when the sun enters Cancer. Cancer, my friends, it's a beautiful energy. It's really, well, as I've shared here before, it's one of my favorites because I have my rising in Cancer, my Chiron is in Cancer, my Jupiter is in Cancer. So there's a lot for me that's potent within this sign. And so I'm really excited for this time of the year to share some reflections with you. As always, make sure to do the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, share this with someone you love, hate, and lust after. If it feels good, do it. If not, no worries. Thank you for stopping by. If this is your first time here, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for your support. I love you. I hope that no matter where you're coming from, your background, your thoughts, your feelings, that this is still really supportive for you. And of course, this channel is supported by Patreon and my shop, which is in the link tree in the comments down below. So at this point, my video doing a tarot reading collective pull is already out. I'll link that in the show notes at the end, so you can kind of dive into that as far as, just some collective energy that I pulled from some cards very quickly. But today is more of a dive into what is Cancer and what is Cancer in the tarot. So the tarot represents Cancer with the Chariot. And so I find that this medicine with the Chariot is really potent and supportive to help us understand how to possibly utilize this energy a little bit more. And so before I dive in today, I do want to share that some of the writing that I dug into today to kind of refresh or just reflect on before I recorded this video was, number one, this book. This is a great resource visually, love it. And then of course this book, which is really beautiful as well. Both these books have great insights, illustrations. As someone who's designing my own tarot deck, I find just looking at different cards, interpretations, different visual interpretations is really supportive. And of course, that's what we will be utilizing today. The cards I'm going to be using are Golden Art Nouveau Tarot. Sorry, I always forget what this one is called. It's a very classic interpretation, or a modern reimagining of a classic interpretation. So there's that one. The Aquarian Tarot, my mini. And of course, this is a good classic, but not as easy to understand, to the Baby Witch. And the Luminous Void Tarot, which is probably the most esoteric depiction that we will be utilizing here today. And of course, I always encourage that if you are wanting to do this practice for yourself of using tarot to kind of tap into the season for yourself, to definitely pull out your own deck and to work with your Chariot in your deck and kind of see what is coming up for you. Let us begin. So the first one I want to use is the Golden Art Nouveau Tarot, and that is because it is a very classical type of depiction. There's not too much that it's changed from this depiction of the Chariot from the Smith-Waite Chariot. There are some differences, of course. We get to see the nipples on the Sphinxes, which is, of course, such a gift for us all. Boobs. But we still have the charioteer. We still have the stars above. We still have the moon on the armor. This is our visual representation for Cancer. And what can we kind of unpack here? So I want to start by saying that Cancer and Cancer energy is often associated with mothering energy. Of course, if you've been here before, you know that we like to de-gender things. So I like to refer to it more as a nurturing energy. There are different ways to nurture, and we see the Emperor being a nurturer by providing, and we see the Chariot and Cancer as being a nurturer through protection. So this protection, we can also see in the armor, all of this. This is very much related to me as the shell of the crab. How can we stay protected and stand firm in our beliefs, right? One thing that we see here is that charioteer, and then again, this is something that Lindsay Mack brings up. It's called the chariot, not the charioteer. And that's a great discernment that I think always needs to be shared again and again. Of course, if you've been here before, also you know that I love Lindsay Mack's interpretation of the cards. I love the way she theorizes about a bunch of thought around tarot and relates it to astrology in her own way. So we can see the Chariot as a tool of protection, much like how we parent ourselves. And again, I'm not saying mothering, I'm saying parent ourselves is very much about how do we protect ourselves? How do we make sure we're safe? So the Chariot shows this mode of protection. That's definitely a phrase that I've used before in the past. Modes of protection. How do we use our tools to keep us safe in uncertain times? And of course, relating it back to this Cancer season, protection in uncertain times is incredibly important. This is a very uncertain time in our history. We're going through a Pluto return, which means we're probably going to hit a economic rough spot, right? We're all kind of preparing for it. We're seeing it in front of us play out. And so there's a lot for us to take in when it comes to how do we protect ourselves? How do we arm ourselves? How do we prepare and move forward? Well, one thing that we can see here is that there are no reins in the hand of the charioteer for the chariot. There's nothing connecting the sphinxes to this person that is in the chariot. And why is that? Because the force doesn't need to be physical. This is actually a note that is brought up in the tarot version of this book. And I really love that reflection because, yes, it doesn't have to be physical. It can be how we reparent ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, how do we equate safety with danger? Are the people that we are around safe or dangerous for us? There's many modes or methods of protection when it comes to the chariot. Now, this is another interpretation of the chariot. We have the Aquarian Tarot. And what I find really interesting about this is we do see that the charioteer has a sword. We see the chariot with wheels, which is very interesting to me because not every chariot shows that. Sometimes I see the chariot as a reminder of where your energy is becoming stagnant. But in this one, and I find it very interesting, we almost see an opening that is sending us through. The chariot itself has this opening. That's how I interpret this. And we see the stagnant form that is the charioteer and this opening in the chariot that is in the heart of the charioteer. So how do I interpret this personally? I interpret this as Cancerian energy, and that protection is very strong, but it's also about how we channel that energy through ourselves, through our hearts, through our minds, through our consciousness, so that we are being mindful with the action that we take and how we stand up for what we believe in. The Chariot and Cancer both have this big protection energy. But what I think is always interesting and what's really coming up for me again this year is that the shell of the crab is not forever perfect. In fact, the crab has to slough their shell seasonally to ensure that they can continue to grow and continue to expand. And with the Charioteer, I invite you to look at this card the exact same way. What can we release, let go of, or just move through rather than resist? At a certain point, we cannot continue to grow if we're not willing to move our immovable beliefs. So what do I mean by that? Sometimes our belief systems can be our methods of protection. Sometimes we can say that this group of people is bad, and so we close them out completely because we are protecting ourselves. But at what point and in what sort of relationships might this actually be counterproductive to what we want and how we actually feel? So the reason I share that is to say, where are we being immobile and where can we just simply get up and leave the chariot? The chariot is the conduit, but at what point does it hold us back? At what point do we outgrow the shell and we need to leave it behind? Or at what point do we need to journey inward and move through some energy that is not fucking moving? This can be really hard for us to reflect on, especially when we are talking about things that make us feel safe. What makes us feel safe is not necessarily the thing that we want to leave, but at what point is that thing that keeps us safe to our detriment? So that's one thing that we can think about, one thing that we can kind of come to terms with this card, with this energy, is yes, it might just be that we have to shift our perspective so that we can move out of the chariot that has kept us safe and into the new nurturing energy that really fulfills the needs that we have. And so here is the last chariot we will look at today. This one is, of course, from the Luminous Void Tarot, and we see a person almost on a magic carpet holding a wheel, and it's very whimsical. It's like above this maybe sky or water, and this is where I want to talk about water as it relates to Cancer, because this is our initiator of summer, but it's also a watery sign. Cancer is. In the 3 different water signs of the zodiac, we see Cancer comes first. And to me, that represents a part of how Cancer is very much in the tidal surge. Cancerian energy is really about the tides that are connected to the moon. Remember, Cancer is ruled by the moon. So we can relate that on a different level here, right? This is the tides that come and go. We can stand strong in our emotional intelligence, allowing for things to wash over us, allowing for things to come and go without restricting ourselves, our hearts, our minds, our bodies, and all the stuff in the world. And this means, to me, this mastery of emotion that accepts that we will not always feel safe, we will not always feel nurtured, but we have the ability to ride that out. Again, going back to reparenting ourselves and taking the structure in place seriously that helps support us. This might mean we have to outgrow certain friendships, or we might have to outgrow certain jobs, or we might have to outgrow certain communities. Again, this goes back to the concept of the chariot being the physical container that allows us to feel safe, that allows us to parent ourselves. At what point do we stop feeling unsafe, or at least adjust so that we can feel safer as we did before? So one other thing I want to harp on here is that this almost seems like a whimsical journey. This person is sitting on a magic carpet. There's a carpet behind them. I'm not really sure what this little brand is, but they're there. And there's this idea of moving through, this idea of moving with some joy, with some childlike wonderment here. A lot of people talk about Cancer and Cancer season being a cry, wishy-washy, emotional period. And I want to just stand here and say to you, the emotional realm is only the surface of what we have to understand. There is only that is the surface level that most folks focus on when it comes to the astrological sign of Cancer. And that is super problematic because ultimately it falls short of the complexities that are within the tidal waves of this sign. We need to reparent how we talk about Cancer. Cancer is emotional, but why is that a bad thing? Why is that looked at as a stressful thing? There's so much strength here in connecting to our emotional intelligence. There's so much strength in standing up for your convictions and parenting yourself and standing up and saying, I believe this, and I want to defend this because it's important to me. I have emotions around that. There's nothing wrong with that, friends. We have every right to be emotional. We have every right to feel our feelings, and we have every right to be open and receptive to the joy that those emotions can also bring us. Not every crying session has to be bad. Perhaps that's why I cry, because I'm so happy so often. I will be brought to tears because I'm so overwhelmed with joy, gratitude, and all the things. And I think that's such a good thing, at least for me. I know it's not for everyone. Everyone's emotional experience and scale is super different, and there's no judgment here. No judgment here at all. But I think sometimes we as a society judge our emotions, including what we deem to be high and low. And of course, I'm going to be talking about my problems with that very soon in another video about toxic spirituality. But the truth is, there's so much childlike wonderment when we connect with our emotional realms and allow ourselves to be present with it, allow ourselves to feel our feelings rather than negate that one is better than the other, or one is more important or more special or more desired, right? Sometimes the most powerful medicine is just allowing ourselves to feel and express those feelings in a way that, of course, doesn't harm anyone, but allows us to flow with intention. So I hope with all of that said, you will use this time of year to flow with intention, to find that wonderment of and joy of your emotional landscape, no matter how extreme it might feel, allowing it to just have time to process, to do the inner work, to travel within ourselves and see where we need to reparent ourselves, where we can nurture ourselves a little bit more without constricting the world around us. How can we make sure that we're looking within and making sure that we're fulfilling our heart's purpose and our heart's dream? And lastly, when do we decide to leave the shell? In this season, there will be a call, I feel, for lots of us to decide and really look within about what serves us and what doesn't, what's necessary and what's extracurricular, what's enriching our lives and what's depleting our energy. There's so much for us to unpack in this season, not only because this is such an emotional season, the first water season, but collectively, there is a lot of pain. There's a lot of constriction, and there is a lot happening internally for many of us. So please remember to protect your energy, protect your community, protect each other with love, understanding, reflection, and joy. I hope this was supportive. I hope this brought some clarity, or, if you have questions, definitely drop them down below. I would love to hear what tarot deck you've been using and what your chariot has been telling you. What are you doing to connect with the chariot on this beautiful solstice day? I personally am going to a job interview because I am trying to create the shell of protection for myself in this uncertain time and help create some stability. So I would love to hear how you are treating your Cancer season, your way of protecting your heart and moving forward with ease, grace, love, and all good things that support your mission in being here. With that said, friends, I love you. Make sure to take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Hit these videos that have popped up around me. And again, would love to hear from you in the comments, or feel free to give this a like, a thumbs up if you found it supportive. But with that said, I'm going to let you go. Bye-bye.